Hi, thank you for joining us today. It's Angie Rice and Janet from Boutique Travel Advisors, and we're here with our partner Jeremy, who helps us on the ground when our travelers are in Italy. And Italy is just one of our favorite countries, whether you're in the countryside or in the city, the northern region, the southern region, or one of their beautiful islands. There's so much to do and experience in Italy, from the wine to the culture. And for some, a trip to Italy might be hiking in the Dolomites. For others, it might be truffle hunting. So we're here with Jeremy, and he's going to really share with you some very inspirational experiences that you can have in Italy. We're also going to really focus on some of the villas that Jeremy is able to offer, the vetted villas. When you book a villa or secure a villa for your vacation, whether it's in the US, whether it's internationally, it's really important to consider the quality of the property manager, and whether it's truly going to be the right property from a location perspective and an accommodation perspective for your family or for your group of travelers. So knowing that these properties are vetted and managed, and as well as we have the ability to talk to the owners, talk to the chefs and to the crew to really make an experience in a villa feel like home. So Jeremy's also going to share with us some amazing villas that are under his wing. Jeremy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me to be part of this broadcast. And right, Italy has so much to offer, that, as we were saying before, there's everything from lakes to mountains to seaside. I'm very fortunate because I live in Milan, and in Milan, the advantage of living in Milan is that you're actually 1 hour away from Lake Como and Lake Maggiore, and then you're about an hour and a half from the beach and 2 hours from the mountain. So strategically, it's one of the greatest places to live in Italy. And I actually am very fortunate that on the weekends I escape the city like most Italians do, and I go out into Piemonte, which is famous for its truffles and its wines. And it's just one of the great places that Italy has to offer. Now, Italy can just be visited dozens and dozens of times. For those of you who have never been, I suggest obviously to see, the big cities like Rome, Venice, Florence, and the Amalfi Coast, and then come back and visit, the countryside. Go to Tuscany, to the Dolomites, to Piemonte, to all these regions, to Puglia, which are a little bit, not off the beaten track, but not the typical place that a person would go on their first visit. Now, each of these cities has so many sites to offer, because if you go to Rome, obviously you want to see the Vatican and the Colosseum. And one of the great things about organizing something with, Janet or Angie is that, through us, then we can arrange a guide that can take you behind the scenes, and you won't have to wait in line for hours and hours at the Vatican or at the Colosseum. And there is also the opportunity to do like after-hour visits, so which is really special. You can go to the Vatican after hours when there's no one there, or even early morning. And the Colosseum supposedly is starting that also. We're still sort of waiting for some information because, unfortunately, what has happened in the world, and that was in the plans. So we hope that will be a possibility also. There's also you can go to St. Mark's in Venice after hours. You enter in small groups of 15 people. And can you imagine going into St. Mark's where it's all dark and they turn on the lights for you and it's just 15 of you? It's just some great experiences that can be offered. Also, if you go to Florence, I highly recommend going to the Accademia and seeing the David, and go to the Uffizi Museum. Now, these are all places that if you don't book in advance, you'll essentially be waiting hours and hours online. And the highlight is to really go with, a guide who can tell you all the stories and the history behind everything without trying to figure out with the guidebook. The good thing about our guides is that if you're also traveling with a family, that they're extremely, extremely family friendly, which is really important, because I know, having two, younger kids myself, that the the last thing they want to do is go on a tour and see the Vatican or the Uffizi. So what you have to do is really get, one of our super child friendly guides, which will really make everything, come to life.
Yeah, and
So
it's funny. Just talking about Italy makes me like miss Italy. Like my heart, every time I go to Italy, like a part of my heart stays in Italy and like just waiting to come back. You're talking about it and I'm like imagining and daydreaming about it. All those destinations you're talking about. And you've put together some really amazing trips for our clients where they have, the parents and the kids, and we were able to curate where the parents can go wine tasting and they can go visit the ancient villages and see the galleries and do the walking tours and have the cooking classes, and everyone is having an amazing time. Everyone is having these really immersive experiences. And I think now more than ever, maybe there's a little bit of a misconception where people think, because the world has been shut down for a while, that, once it reopens, there's not going to be the long lines. Maybe things won't get busy. I think it's going to be quite the opposite. I mean, we get requests all the time. When is Europe reopening? When can we go back? And I think, for people that are looking at planning 21, 22, I think it's a perfect time to start thinking about it because everyone's imaginations are like ready to roam.
Yeah, I think, as you say, it will be even, unfortunately, in some cases, more crowded than before, in the big cities, because there is, everyone hasn't really traveled for the past year, and it might be another half year before people are traveling again. So obviously, there's just so much demand out there. And I will be honest, there was a little problem, which everyone knows, of over tourism in certain cities. Venice and Rome. But I think that's also why, you have why a person should get, be in the hands of a professional to sort of, know the ins and outs and when to go and not to go and when to see a site and, go with a guide who takes you in at the best time, to avoid these lines. I think at this point in time, I mean, I think everyone would be happy for over tourism because of what we haven't had. And I'm sure in a couple of years, we'll be back trying to figure out how to manage, this question of over tourism. But now at this point, let's just get the people back and have people experience, what Italy is all about. And like you said, I mean, Italy is just so much of everything, whether it's food and wine. And I was just thinking this morning, before, just thinking in my mind about what I was going to talk to you about, and I think just the whole eating experience in Italy is just so amazing, because rarely, and I say rarely, do I ever have a bad meal. And I know that wherever I go, it's going to be some sort of eating experience, even from the simplest little, trattoria restaurant, to a Michelin star restaurant, which, to be honest with you, I avoid because the restaurants are so good that there's no real necessity to go to a Michelin star restaurant. And, I can go to where I have, my place in the country in Piemonte, and I can go and, for maybe 30 euros have, a 3-course meal with like good wine. But I mean, an excellent meal that, you just dream about. And just, and,
Yeah,
the little.
was some of the best food I ever had. Was lucky enough before the pandemic to be there. And I mean, I explored Asti, where you have your country house. We chatted about that. I mean, really the food, and what I think a lot of people, when we're talking about the cuisine in Italy, what a lot of people may not necessarily realize is that it's not like just Italian cuisine. If you're an American coming to Italy for the first time, you may think, oh, Italian food, and you're thinking pizza and pasta. But each region of Italy has very specific cuisine, and they're actually super varied, and as well as the wines. And so maybe we chat a little bit about that, about how you can create essentially an entire trip based on your culinary preferences and explore different regions of Italy based on the types of foods you like to eat and the types of dining experiences you like to have.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you say it, and it's not only almost regions, but also even cities within regions have their different cuisines. So to not go into too much, because you will be here forever, but if you stick with the regions, and Milan is in Lombardy, and then we go to Piemonte, and then right next door is Liguria, and then down is Tuscany. The cuisines completely change. I mean, even such things as like the bread. If in bread in Tuscany, the bread is really hard, and some people say, "Oh, this is like stale," or it's like a little more salt. That's Tuscan bread. And you come up to Milan, and Milan is famous for another type of bread. And then you go to Piemonte, and they're famous for their agnolotti pasta, which is like stuffed, small, sort of like ravioli. So it's amazing, really, as you travel through the country, how the cuisine really changes, but not like one plate, but literally like different dozens of different plates. And like I said, it's you really have to make an effort to have a bad meal. I mean, even if you stop on the autostrada on the highway, you can eat well on the highway, which is amazing. I mean, if I think in the United States you get like Burger King or whatever, and then you can be on the highway and actually have like a full course meal, which is actually made in front of you. So it's just one of the nice things about living here.
And I think exploring a cooking class is a great way to really understand the different ingredients and what makes cooking in one region different than another. I know that I really got into different types of sauce dishes when I was in Sicily. I took a cooking class, as well as I visited some of my dad's family members in Contessa Antolina, which is south of Palermo, maybe hour and a half. And I started really getting hooked on putting more pesto in my sauces. So that's kind of one of my takeaways with learning how to cook more authentic Italian cooking, and certainly adding more artichokes to my pasta dishes. So I think it's a great opportunity to really explore different types of ingredients that pair well nicely. And certainly the libations and the wines is a big added component to a meal as well. So cooking classes is fantastic, and being open to trying different ingredients is a great way to explore a country's cuisine.
Good thing you mentioned cooking classes, because we actually offer, of course, different opportunities of different cooking classes. From the possibility to do a cooking class in Alba, all the way to do a cooking class in Taormina. Most of the times, which I think is fantastic, they're actually done in restaurants. And in some cases they're done in set, cooking environments. But a good thing, which now we found that for many years it was really hard to find, was actually a good cooking class in Rome. Everyone was going to Rome and they wanted to see the normal sites, but then all of a sudden people are like, oh, well, why not do a cooking course? Because typically a person who goes to Rome usually spends 3 or 4 nights there, as opposed to just 1 or 2 nights. So now we actually have a great chef, and there's the opportunity either to do it in his restaurant, or actually has an apartment, several apartments that he uses. And they take people, food shopping in the market, and they buy the ingredients and they decide what they want to cook. Very, informal, which is how it should be. It's not, too structured. And we also do the same thing in Venice, in Positano, and like I said, Sicily, and of course, Florence. So, that's always a good alternative for clients who, are interested in learning how to cook. And then, of course, wine and wine tasting, the opportunity to see, visit different vineyards. Everyone thinks of Chianti and Tuscany, but oh my God, there's so much more than Chianti and Tuscany in terms of wine. In Italy, I find that the best wines are actually, it's a personal taste, but in the Dolomite region, in the sort of on the Austrian-Italian border near Bolzano or Trento, make some terrific red and white wines. And then once again, you go to Sicily and they make completely different wines with completely different grapes, and they're just as good. And I just have really been discovering, Sicilian Shiraz recently, and I'm a completely in it. And then you go to Piemonte and you drink Barolo or Barbaresco. So Italian wine is not only Chianti, but there's just so many different types of wines that we can have.
Jeremy, maybe we tell our viewers and our clients, what is the difference? Because anyone, you can taste wine. You can go to a restaurant and order a wine and taste new wines. You can, a lot of vineyards have wine tasting where you can walk in and, do a wine tasting. But obviously the magic is in having everything be curated, where we pick the wineries for the clients based on their interests, their tastes, their preferences. Let's talk a little bit about how that's different. Why is an experience that's curated different than just a, hey, I'm going to pop open this guidebook and I see that there's 3 wineries in Tuscany and it's Tuscany, so the wine is all probably good. I'll just pop into wherever I'm going. I mean, let's talk about what a very different experience it is to have that personalization and that prearranged tour, so to speak, of a winery versus just like a pop-in.
Yeah, that's a good point. And for example, obviously Tuscany is where we do most of our wine tours, because everyone, rightfully so, thinks Tuscany, and that's where most of the wine is produced. And typically, when a client will do a wine tour with one of our driver guides, they have a set amount of different types of wineries that they work with. So when the client will come in the car and they'll start talking, he or she will will ask obviously what type of wines they're interested in, as opposed to being fixated and saying, oh, I want to take you to this winery, but they actually are going to the winery or to different wineries based on what the client's interests are wine-wise. And it's funny because some clients are a little taken back and they might think, oh, well, they're not 100% organized, but actually it's different because the drivers are trying to organize based on what the client actually is interested in, as opposed to having like a set itinerary. So it's very personalized at that moment.
And it's also the relationships that your guides have with the family-owned vineyards. That is not something that can be created on a road trip to Tuscany where you're going from one winery to the next. It's those relationships that allow our guests to be able to have the flexibility to experience different wineries without it being overly structured, and truly being able to choose wineries based on the appeal of the wines to the travelers.
As a matter of fact, unless someone asks to visit a specific big winery, so to speak, we typically try to avoid them because some of the big wineries, although they might produce really good wines, they've also become very commercial. So there might be bus loads of tourists there, and that's not really a great experience for our clients to go and be with 50 or 75 other people. So we do actually use very small boutique wineries, which is good because it's usually the owner who's taking our clients around. So that's different as opposed to having someone who's at a big winery and everyone is just sort of a number, so to speak. So unless a person says, well, I want to go to Castello di Verrazzano, which is one of the big wineries, we typically will avoid these big cookie cutter type wineries.
And I think people should also recognize, although you want to keep your options open, but to the extent you have a celebration or you want to have a farm to table experience at a winery, those are things that also can be curated to make it feel like it's your vineyard for the day, for your family, or for those that you're celebrating with. So arranging lunch or a special toast or a celebration at a winery is something else that can really make a experience to a vineyard authentic and extremely memorable.
Yeah, I had a couple of years back. It was actually a group of quite a famous chef in the United States and a group of wine aficionados, and we organized. It was great, sort of like a picnic lunch in the middle of the winery in Piemonte, and it was a terrific experience. So they were eating in the middle, of the vineyards, eating and drinking, of course. So these things, are difficult, obviously, to arrange on your own. That's why it's recommended to use someone like you guys who through your connections can then arrange these great experiences.
I think another trend that we're going to find is, as the world really reopens, is the fact that we've all kind of adopted to being more virtual. And with that virtuality is the fact that people are going to have more flexibility to take extended vacations. When we've planned trips to Europe and to Italy, a big problem we have with travelers, or a big pain point, is the fact that they don't have enough time. So if their trip is 10 days, they don't have the flexibility to choose as many destinations within that trip. But now with the flexibility of being able to potentially work for some time during your vacation, the idea of renting a villa in Tuscany for a month where you do some traveling, but you're working as well, doesn't sound as outrageous as probably what it may have sounded, 2 years ago.
Well, in this day and age, we do also have this concept of we want more space and we want distance and what better thing than a villa? Here, I'm just a couple of so few of the villas that we actually have in Tuscany. All of our villas, have all the amenities like air conditioning and swimming pools and Wi-Fi. And as you can also, there is the possibility to have a chef who might come in and cook and also do cooking classes. And here's just another one in the Tuscany area. Very spacious, as you can see from up here. There's just like miles and miles of. You have your own pool, and you don't have to worry about overcrowding or getting the best seat at the swimming pool because you didn't put your towel down early, so to speak. I've heard horror stories about that.
Jeremy, we've had clients come to us and mention what is the benefits of booking a private villa with you versus maybe looking online and finding a property and choosing to just curate that villa over the internet. Can you really share with our audience the true benefits of securing a villa through our connections to you, and what added benefits there are? I mean, are people paying more? Is it the same price? And really explain to our guests what it really means to be a curated, vetted property that's managed.
First of all, the most important thing, like in my case, is I'm dealing directly with the owners, and that's or in some cases, if they have so many villas and they're so fortunate, the villa manager. But typically, I'm dealing directly with the owners, so you're dealing with the person who owns the place, as opposed to going through some online agency that might have 300 or 400 villas, which they have. It's very difficult in this day and age to have seen them all. Second of all, since things got opened up here, revamping our villa portfolio, so we only have about 25 different villas in different areas. We don't have a huge selection because it's very difficult to then keep track of what the condition of the villas are and the service behind it. So since things have been opening up, I've been traveling and looking and inspecting these villas and then adding or taking off what I feel is appropriate for our clients. So, I mean, my background before I opened my company, more than 20 years ago, was I was actually in the 5-star hotel business. So I tend to think that I have hopefully a pretty good eye about how things should work or not work. Of course, if there's a plumbing issue, unfortunately, I don't, these things do happen. Some of these villas are very old, and I think one has to go, and also a bit with, I don't want to say a flexible mindset, but it's like any house that the important thing is the owner's there or their manager is there, and they'll take care of it right away. And I think that's really sort of the secret, to things, as opposed to, like I said, going through an agency that has just, hundreds of different villas. So the benefit is really the connection with me and the owner and the person who's managing. From a price point, to be honest with you, I think it's essentially, probably the same. It is sort of a very, I don't want to say competitive, industry, but I think more or less the prices are the same. The difference really is that, if there's a problem, we're here, the owner's here, you're not having to, wait on hold for some 1-800 number, and the person who's in the States. I think the important thing is that, someone is here on the ground taking care of you. And that,
I think, yeah. And, I also think, to that point, like the people that we have who are traveling, who book villas, tend to be families, a lot of multi-generational or groups where everyone's needs are a little bit different. And I know we've had families traveling where they might be traveling with a grandma or, grandparents who maybe have some mobility issues. Well, coming from America, where everything has an elevator and everything is new and everything is wheelchair accessible and everything is, ADA compliant, it's not necessarily the case in Europe, and especially in these old, villages, and especially if you want a villa, in Tuscany. It's a very magical and romantic notion. I want to have a villa in the vineyards. But a lot of these villas are farmhouses or chateaus that were built hundreds of years ago. And they were not built, to have an elevator. They weren't built to have wheelchairs be able to get through. They were built, for people that have a lot of mobility. And so, these are all details that people might not even necessarily think of, but that go into very much the choosing of the right villa for the right family, or if you have really young kids and there's this big, beautiful pool, most of these pools are not necessarily going to have a fence, so if you have a kid who can't swim, you might consider, well, maybe we want a villa that doesn't have a pool. If we have grandma and grandpa who can't walk up the stairs, maybe we need a villa that's 1 story, or if it's multiple stories, we need to have a bedroom on the first floor. So I think all of the knowledge of the villas and the fact that you guys have personally inspected them, and Angie and I can call up Jeremy and say, Jeremy, we have this family, it's grandma and grandpa and kids and so and aunts and uncles, and we need 5 bedrooms, and we need it to be 3 stories, and we need grandma to be able to not have to walk up the stairs. We can make that happen versus just booking something randomly and kind of hoping for the best.
Yeah, and that's a good point. For example, we have quite a few villas on the Amalfi Coast, and as you know, like Positano has steps and steps and steps and steps, which are never-ending steps. So we actually detailed in our villa descriptions how many steps there are, from point A to point B, because if you have a person who does have mobility issues, I mean, Positano is probably not the best place to be, and a villa rental is probably not really going to work. Because there's just, so many steps. So it's important, when we have all these details that you can then, have in front of you and consult. So we are finding the right villa for the right, for the right clients, as opposed to sending, grandparents to a villa in Positano that has 150 steps to get up to, because obviously that's, really not going to work. And, the same thing, we have, for example, a villa on Lake Como, and because of the way it's structured, they actually say that you have to be 12 years old or older to actually go to the villa, because it's sort of on a hill, and I don't want to say it's dangerous, but it's not ideal for small kids. So, these are things that we clearly spell out, so there's no surprises.
And when you're looking at pictures of villas, there's oftentimes it's the what you don't see as well. So if a villa has pictures and from the left window you see beautiful orchids, and on the right window you see, it's noisy, it's congested, the apartment is adjacent to a busy street, those are things that are not going to be captured in a picture or description. But the fact that Jeremy visits these villas time and again to evaluate whether they truly meet the definition of a villa that we would want to recommend to you is so important. So it's really keeping up and knowing that the villa is going to accommodate a family that wants to do a lot of cooking in the kitchen versus a family that would rather have more space be dedicated to common areas, or even the bedroom configurations. Do we need more twin beds or do we need kings and queen beds? And those little details can really change the formality and the chemistry of the experience. If you're looking for certain things, those are questions that will make sure that we evaluate and assess in determining which recommendations we provide you for a villa.
I think it's also knowing the right questions to ask. When you're planning an experience, and even in our own travels, you talk about Positano, and I'm laughing because I think back to the first time my husband and I went to Positano, and on the Amalfi Coast, and we're very fit, and I booked us this beautiful little bed and breakfast chateau. I mean, it was absolutely the most gorgeous place. And we get there, and of course, they have no elevator. I didn't ask any questions. I just booked it. I saw the pictures online. We were in our 20s. I was in love. We booked this villa, bed and breakfast. We get there. There's no elevator. There's no one to help us with our luggage. And there was 300, I'll never forget it, like 330 steps to get down to the main area, and then another 330 steps to walk back up to your room. And the little lady who owned it was this little old couple. It was her and her husband. She made the breakfast. They, took care of the grounds. It was beautiful. But there's no one to help with your luggage. So here we are with our suitcases trudging up and down the stairs. We had the best exercise. But these are all details that now, being in this industry, Angie and I and Jeremy and everyone that we work with, we know to ask, are you okay walking upstairs? Are you okay with cobblestone streets? Don't bring your high heels if you're staying in a villa in Tuscany, because you're probably going to have to walk down the cobblestones. Do you want a big kitchen? Do you want to cook? Do you want a chef? Do you want wine tastings? Do you want to have a wine cellar in the villa where you can buy all this amazing wine and store it while you're there? Do you want to have amazing Wi-Fi, or is that not as important? So all of those little details that you don't necessarily capture in the images, because all of us see beautiful pictures of a villa. We picture ourselves there, but it's the small things behind the scenes that really make or break your experience.
Yeah, and I think the villa experience is obviously so much different from the hotel experience, because the villa experience is really living the country, in the sense that, you go to a hotel, you don't have to worry about food shopping or meals or whatever, and you might not even get into a supermarket, the whole time that you're in Italy. Now, if you're renting a villa, then, and you're in Tuscany and it's maybe 20 minutes from a town, and you'll go to the market that might be there on Tuesday, and then you'll go to the fruit market, the vegetable market, and then you'll go to the supermarket. So you'll really experience what life, in Italy is all about, as opposed to, the other side, if you were in a hotel, which I'm a hotel person, to be honest with you. I love hotels, and if I go on vacation, I honestly want to stay in a hotel, but that's just because I like to spoil myself. But I'm probably not getting the whole, let's see, culture of where I'm going when I'm traveling to, as opposed to if I were to stay in a villa, where I feel that you're going to get a lot more. And I think that experience is something that you really will stick with you. You'll remember, especially if it's a family vacation. I think these are all things that it's just these memories that the people keep, and then it would be like, oh, we should do that again, and
I can tell you my first trip to Italy with my kids, they were not even 2 and almost 2 and 4, and we did Italy. We spent a month, and we had the flexibility. It was amazing. We did Milan, we did Lake Como, we did Lake Garda, we were in Malsicine and then Bellagio. My favorite experiences was going to the supermarkets with my kids and ordering. We didn't even know what, because the people don't really speak English, and we're ordering the salami and the prosciutto and the cheese and tasting, and the lady behind the counter is making my kids these giant beautiful sandwiches, and we're lost in wandering up and down the streets of Bellagio. Those are really magical moments. And it's funny because even now, looking back at pictures, my kids will say, I remember the swans in Bellagio. They remember these little details that, even though they were really little the first time we went, like, we want to go back to Bellagio. Do you remember the swans? Do you remember the castle in Lake Garda where we had to walk up all those stairs to get to this castle? And it creates such beautiful memories and connections. And I think that's the magic. To me, that's the magic of Italy, is that you can go anywhere, and it's a safe country. You can get lost wandering up and down the streets. You can have these really curated experiences where you have the guide, and you do the wine tasting, and you do the behind the scenes tours, and you have the guide take you to the museums. And then at the same time, you can roam around these beautiful villages for hours with your kids or with your significant other, and really get lost and immersed. And you can have the best of both worlds. You can stay in a chateau, you can stay in a villa, then you can also stay at some amazing hotels, and you can stay in hotels the entire time and curate, we can curate some of these like more authentic, immersive type experiences by doing a cooking class or a farm to table meal or something like that.
And yeah, like you said, you can. It just really depends on what everyone is looking for. And some people don't want to drive. Other people like to self-drive. Italy obviously can be challenging self-driving. I won't hide that fact, especially in cities like Milan, Rome, or Naples. It could be quite nerve-wracking, so to speak. In that case, we have the opportunity to to organize private drivers. If you want to go that route, there's also the high-speed train system in Italy works very well also, and then we can pick you up and at the train station and get you to where you need to be. Italy really offers, for example, from Milan to Rome, there's a train every 15 minutes, I think, a high-speed train. And in like 3.5 hours, you're in Rome, which is great. When they're not on strike, that is. But it's not a huge, not a super big country, but you still need, several weeks to visit it. And like I said, if you're going for the first time, then you should definitely see the bigger cities, and then just depend on what your interests are. I mean, there's a lot of up and coming places like Puglia, which isn't even really that much up and coming anymore, but amazing what's going on in Puglia. I just read the other day that Four Seasons Hotels is opening up a hotel there. So that's, if it was up and coming, then with the entrance of Four Seasons, it's just going to be all over the map now. So people should get there before it gets too crowded, and visit it now when it's still sort of virgin territory.
I think we'll also see a trend where maybe there was a lot of focus on traveling and experiencing Europe in the summer months, but we've really had to reschedule a lot of clients for different times of the year, and we're seeing more excitement for what is it like to experience Europe in different seasons, more so in the fall, winter, and spring. So I'm hoping that is another layer of tourism that allows us to kind of spread the population. So some travelers that typically travel in the summer might look to experience Europe and places like Italy at different times of the year. I know I was in Italy during the Christmas holidays one year, and it's just such a fascinating place to be during the holiday season.
Yeah. No, in fact, what's always sort of amazed me is that if you go to London at Christmas, it's full of people. But if you go to Rome or Milan, there's Americans have never really gone to Italy at Christmas. And you know, what's wrong with going to Rome at Christmas? Nothing. Everything is open. Everything is functioning, and probably the weather is going to be a little better than in London also. In Milan, you know, everything is open at Christmas. There's a great Christmas atmosphere, and you know, you go up into the Dolomites, you go to a ski resort. All the big cities really off season, you know, Christmas are open. There are certain areas like, you know, the Amalfi Coast, obviously, around Christmas is a very seasonal destination, as are some of the hotels in Tuscany. But my hope is like yours, that, you know, we get away from this thing where everything is based on, you know, the April or May to end of October season, and sort of spread it out so people also enjoy the country when it's not so crowded. Because obviously, if you want to go to Rome June or July or September, you know, pre-pandemic, it was a madhouse, because everyone else is going. If you want to come in December, or you want to treat yourself, you go to Venice in January or February, when it might be a little cold, but there's, you know, the streets are quiet, and you can just walk and not have to push and shove, because, you know, everyone is there, and it's just a complete different city than if you went, you know, in September or something. And so I'm hoping that we get away from this seasonality of Italy, and it sort of becomes an all year destination.
Jeremy, I would love
Yeah.
for you to show us a few more pictures of the villas,
Sure.
just to get a sense of,
Sure.
you know, show us some villas and let us know if it's more for families, or is it a better property for couples, and really maybe even describe to us some of the things that are really important that people consider when they are choosing a villa that maybe they wouldn't think of. Like, one of the things I know when we've secured villas is that it's important that they have enough glassware, utensils, because a lot of time you want it to feel like a home. You don't want to feel like you're walking into a property and it's a place that just doesn't feel like it's utilized. I think it really needs to be a place that understands that this is going to be someone's home for a week, sometimes a month. So you want it to, I even enjoy when I go into a rental place and there's a bookshelf of books that you can choose from, to make it real, personalize it and inviting. And it's so warming to walk in a home that truly feels like it's lived in, knowing that it's still a rental property.
In places, and you see this building is the whole home that we have with its can you see what I'm showing you? Are you able to see everything?
Yes,
Okay.
we can. The Venice apartment. It looks massive.
Yeah, so this is actually in Venice. And can you imagine, you know, you have a large family, and I could actually sit on your own sort of balcony on the top, and, you know, eat and watch the boats go by, and you know, this is a professional that they have, and this is just some of the examples of the bedrooms, and, you know, the bathrooms. As you can see, this is stuff that you would basically get in a 5-star deluxe hotel. I mean, if you could look at the bathrooms, and, you know, so I sort of find this really spectacular, very unique, because obviously you don't have to rent it on a weekly basis. You can rent it even, you know, 2 or 3 nights. But you know, a large family goes to Venice, and you could just sit on that dock, you know, on this right here where the private dock is, and watch, you know, life go by. I think it's an amazing experience.
And I think we should share with people the benefits of an apartment is also the room configurations, because unlike in the US, Europe is really, the hotels are very strict with occupancy. So sometimes it's really challenging to be able to get quads where there can be 4 persons to a room or even 3 persons to a room. So if you're traveling with young children, an apartment is a great option. And maybe you're not thinking apartment in the city, but you're so close to everything that you can actually shop for breakfast, shop for some meals, have access to a kitchen, and be able to avoid issues with hotels not necessarily being able to adjoin your rooms. That's another thing to really be mindful of. A lot of hotels in Europe, it's rare to have adjoining rooms. It's not nearly as common.
You know, have hotels which have a couple triple rooms. Quads are extremely difficult to find. I mean, I when I get requests for people who want 4 people in a room, I'm like, oh my God. And then also, you know, I don't like to say this, but if you have a large family, maybe, you know, 10, 12 people, but from a price perspective, it's actually a good deal if you rent a villa or an apartment, and you start figuring out what it would cost to, you know, to stay in a hotel during that time. And so I think also from, you know, from a price issue, it's something that we shouldn't forget. There's a good, you know, good price value to also consider. So let me just show you a couple more here that we have. But I just wanted to show you that Venice one because I thought here, for example, is just another apartment that we have it in Rome, and then I will go on to the villas. So this is just, you know, as you can see, you know, really modern, clean, contemporary apartment. This sleeps 10 people in the center of Rome. I mean, I find, you know, the bathrooms are quite spectacular. Difficult even to find in some hotels. And then, sorry, I'm just a little. Here's now this villa. If you know the Under the Tuscan Sun, the movie was the villa from that movie. So in Cortona. So this sleeps about 20 people, if I'm mistaken, offhand. So various different living quarters. This obviously is less contemporary and more, you know, old style furniture. But you know, the possibility to, you know, 20 people to eat outside is great, and large professional kitchens. And just some examples of, you know, the various bedrooms and bathrooms, you know, all quite unique. And I will show you one more. Let me see. Show you one more here. Just bear with
Jeremy,
me.
I suspect with a lot of the cancellations from summer 2020 that you have quite a bit of weeks that are already booked for even 2022. Is that correct?
2021 is getting fully booked.
Yeah.
For like Europeans. 2022, I think we'll be seeing some, you know, things come in slowly but surely. Let me just show you one more here, and then. So this is an apartment in Val d'Orcia, which is in the southern part of Tuscany, and you can see that's like an old farmhouse that was converted, and you can see, you know, the pool, and look at all the space.
Amazing.
Look at all that land you have, so we don't have to worry about social distancing there. This has a very particular type of furnishing, very very contemporary, but obviously the owners have put in a lot of thought into this, and the kitchens are, like I said, they're all professional kitchens, and these bedrooms are very very unique, and and the bathrooms are extremely unique. So like I said, we have about 25 at this point in time, different villa and apartment offerings that a bit all in most of the parts of Italy at this point. So I don't know if you have any specific questions about the villas.
Just seeing the pictures makes me want to travel, and I know the charm of staying in a villa. It just really allows you to unwind and not pay as close attention to the clock. But I also like the idea of recognizing you rent a villa for a week, and on the front and the back end, it gives you the opportunity to enjoy the amenities of a resort, or maybe the chance to enjoy more city activities.
And I was going to say, I mean, I love Italy. I have a love affair. And I think one of the things that, there's misconceptions that it's hard to travel to Europe with little kids. And I just want to share one of my favorite, of course, we've always traveled with my kids, and that's really why I got into travel. But I don't know if you guys can see that. Can you see this picture? I don't know if you guys see it, but this is one of my favorite, one of our favorite trips with our kids when they were really little. And this is actually this is Bellagio. So this was when we were in Bellagio with my kids, and it was just such a magical experience. And we rented a villa in Bellagio. We rented actually not a villa, but an apartment that was part of a villa. And our view was literally overlooking the entire Lake Garda. And it was just so magical and beautiful. So do you guys see that? Yes, you do. Okay. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, anyone who's experienced a trip to Europe with your kids, whether it's Italy or somewhere else, share it in the group, because it really helps to encourage other people who think about the idea of traveling to Europe with their kids, and there's just some sort of hesitation. So when they see these experiences, it allows them to recognize that there's other people that they can talk to, including Janet and I, of course, to really talk about the benefits of travel and the way to eliminate the stress that may be associated with getting there. But once you're there, the opportunity to really explore different experiences, from the countryside to the beaches and the inner city. There's so many opportunities to create a trip that offers a lot of uniqueness in one journey.
I just wanted to share one more. So this was us also. This is in Lake Garda. And my kids were really little, and you can see that there's a million stairs everywhere. So we ended up having to carry them quite a bit up and down the stairs because they would get tired. But some of really our favorite memories with our kids, and we've gone back to Europe almost other than last summer, every summer to different parts of Europe with my kids. And I think it really creates an appreciation for the world. It creates an appreciation in your children's minds about other cultures, and makes them curious, makes them appreciate exploration. It makes them appreciate, different cuisines. And I think it just makes them more adventurous in general. Like, my kids have eaten food and different types of food that a lot of their American friends would have never even tried, because they were in Italy, or they were in Croatia, or in Spain, or wherever we were in the world. And I think when you're out of your comfort zone, it really creates amazing opportunities to connect. And it also, the memories that you make when you're outside your comfort zone, when you're outside your normal day-to-day life, are really unforgettable. And I think especially like one of my favorite things is to travel with multi-generational, with our family, with my grandma. My grandma has traveled with us all over. I might have to pull up a picture of that too, because she's been with us to Italy several times. And I think, you know, if you're nervous about traveling, especially after the kind of year that we've had, just rest assured that, you know, when we plan these trips, we take everyone's needs into account. And because we work with such amazing partners like Jeremy, who live and breathe the destination, we know the ins and outs of every single accommodation, of every single restaurant, of every single vineyard, of every tour guide. Everything is handpicked, particularly for each and every client.
We need a picture of Luna.
Luda. Let me see if I can pull one up. Jeremy, what do you think? I mean, what do you feel like when you travel, when you plan trips for these multi-generational and these extended families and families with young children, that it just creates so many amazing memories and opportunities? And I think, you know, it's sometimes when we travel and it's convenient, like when my husband and I travel, it's fun, we love it, and it's the two of us and it's easy. But sometimes the obstacles that we overcome when we're traveling and the funny little things that happen and the mishaps, like missing the train because, you know, my daughter forgot her whatever stuffy at one of the hotels and we had to go back to the hotel to get her stuffy. She couldn't live without it. Or, you know, showing up to the wrong terminal or whatever it is, the little mishaps that happen sometimes make the funniest, best stories down the road. Don't you agree, Jeremy?
Yeah, I've had some pretty interesting trips with my daughters. So, I mean, 2 years ago, we actually went to Shanghai, of all places. And my youngest daughter doesn't eat Chinese food. So that was sort of an adventure. So, no, definitely. But of course, we want everyone to not think about Shanghai, but think about traveling to Italy, where eating is a little easier and a little more child friendly, so to speak. No, but I think the important thing with families and organizing, you know, different services is to not fill up people's schedule and make it very relaxed and you know, keep in mind that, you know, kids have a short attention span and sometimes adults do also. So to not, you know, put people on 7-8 hour day tours, but, you know, just maybe a half a day and then the next day relax and enjoy. And so I think it's just all comes, you know, to sensible planning also.
Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
To those that are tuning in who will catch us on the replay, if you have any questions, go ahead and add your questions to the comments and we'll be sure to get them answered.
Thank you very much.
We hope to be in Italy again soon. I know I have 2 trips from 2020 that need to be rescheduled. We're hoping for November for our girls' trip to Tuscany. So,
well, we're here, so whatever you need.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. And drop your pictures of Italy in our comments. We would love to share.
Bye-bye.
Bye.